Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Josie McKenna and I'm the chairman, and Zainab Ahmed is the timekeeper. This debate will be judged by a panel of 3 adjudicators who are Miss Fechner, Miss No and Miss Turner. The topic for our debate is that superheroes should be accountable for the damage they cause. The affirmative team seated to my right is Pembroke. The negative team seated to my left is Pinnacle College. The speaking time for this debate is 2 minutes with a double bell at the end if you are speaking time. Our warning bell will ring once at 2 minutes and a continuous bell will ring 30 seconds after the final bell. I declare this debate open. I call upon the first affirmative speaker, Clara Malay.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that superheroes should be held accountable for the damage they cause. We, the affirmative team, believe this statement to be undeniably true. We define the topic as superheroes, individuals with extraordinary abilities who act to protect others, often working outside official legal systems. Should, a word used to indicate obligation, duty, or correctness. Held accountable, being responsible for one's actions and facing consequences when those actions harm others. Damage, harm or destruction caused to people, property, or the environment. Cause, the source of or to bring about an action, event, or result. So, in other terms, we are debating whether superheroes should be responsible for the harm they cause to communities, individuals, and the environment. Today's first speaker, I will be talking about how superheroes being above the law destroys equality and justice, and how lack of accountability creates fear and instability in society. Our second speaker will explain how unregulated power and obligation lead to corruption, and how when people act without consequences, many will abuse their power. Our third speaker will rebut and sum up our team case. I'm going to discuss 2 points. My first point is that superheroes who are not held accountable threaten the very foundation of a lawful and fair society. In a just world, everyone is equal under the law. If superheroes are allowed to destroy cities with no consequences, it sends the message that power is more important than justice. This undermines public trust in governments and legal systems. Heroes are role models, but if they cause devastation and escape responsibility, citizens start to question whether justice is real. For example, in Man of Steel, Superman's fight with General Zod caused over $750 billion in damage, leaving 129,000 dead, 250,000 missing, and 1 million injured. Yet Superman was praised, while the suffering of ordinary people was ignored. If any normal person is punished for harm, the same rules must apply for superheroes. My second point is that when superheroes are not held accountable, society itself becomes unstable. Communities cannot feel safe if the people meant to protect them also cause mass destruction. Research from the Brookings Institution shows that when citizens feel leaders or authorities are unaccountable, public trust collapses and fear rises. In Captain America's Civil War, the Sokovia Accords were introduced after innocent lives were lost in repeated battles. Over 117 countries demanded accountability because without it, the world was in danger. This story reflects real fears. When power goes unchecked, society loses stability and people live in constant fear. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, no one, not even superheroes, should be above the law. Superheroes may save lives, but without accountability, they destroy justice. And without justice, no one is truly safe. Thank you.
now call upon this first negative speaker, Safa Abid Iqbal.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that superheroes should be held accountable for the damage they cause. We agree with the definition given by the affirmative team, however, we believe that this statement is false. We would also like to add to the definition that superheroes refers to any individual who performs heroic deeds using superhuman powers. Therefore, supervillains do not fall under the same category as they are effectively evil. Today, as the first speaker, I will be talking to you about the importance of intention and how the benefits outweigh the cost in this scenario. Our second speaker will be talking about legal uncertainty, alternative options, and public opinion. Our third speaker will rebut and sum up our team case. The first speaker of the affirmative team has tried to tell you the rule of law must apply to everyone. This is wrong because the justice system allows exceptions under difficult circumstances. For example, for people living with a mental illness. Pushing your mind and body to the limit while fighting phenomenal beings for the fate of the universe is undoubtedly demanding. Therefore, exceptions should be made. I am going to discuss 3 points. My first point is that heroes have noble intentions. Why else would they risk their own safety as well as the lives of their loved ones for the sake of others? I would like you to imagine you're a hero. You have pushed your body to the brink of death to save countless of people, most of whom you don't even know. However, instead of praise and glory, you're blamed for the chaos. Is this fair? Definitely not. This links to my second point. If heroes were constantly blamed their mistakes, they would become discouraged. According to the BBC, the effects of criticism last longer than praise and can lead to feelings of anxiety, shame, and disconnection. Superheroes face immense scrutiny and pressure as it is. However, the fear of being reprimanded may cause them to become more hesitant when taking action. This can waste precious time as every second is critical in an emergency. Some superheroes may choose to quit altogether, putting the world at risk of far worse outcomes. Now for my third point. Rather than focus on the damage caused, we should remember that superheroes do more good than harm. Consider our real-life heroes. Would you ask a firefighter to rebuild a house after doused the burning flames? Would you send a paramedic to jail if they accidentally broke someone's ribs while giving them life-saving CPR? Heroes often have to make tough decisions and sacrifices for the greater good. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, superheroes act with the best intentions and save lives. So I ask, if saving lives risks damage, should we punish those who risk all? Thank you.
I now call upon the second affirmative speaker, James Cosmos.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that superheroes should be held accountable for the damage they cause. We, the affirmative team, believe this statement is undeniably true. The first speaker from the negative team has tried to tell you that superheroes have morals, so they don't need laws to guide them. This is incorrect, because morality is not about doing good, it's about taking responsibility. Psychology today explains that with great power, like judges or police officers, are held accountable because of the huge influence they have. Superheroes fit the same category. If they refuse to accept responsibility for mistakes, They are not a good moral at all. They are avoiding the truth and setting a bad example. The first speaker from the negative team has also tried to tell you that heroes give hope, and questioning them will harm that. This is false, because real hope comes from honesty, at admitting when you're wrong. Psychology today highlights that heroes inspire us by showing resilience and strength, but it's even more powerful when they take responsibility for their actions. A hero who admits to faults and stands back up inspires us more than one who pretends they never make mistakes. Our first speaker has already explained how when superheroes are not held accountable, conflicts can escalate rapidly, and how superheroes who don't take accountability threaten the very foundation of a lawful and fair society. Today I will be talking to you about 2 points. My first point is that unregulated power and obligation leads to corruption and the loss of innocent lives. Like superheroes, the President of China, Mr. Xi Jinping, is regarded as one of the most powerful people on the planet, as said by Forbes, because he can make laws with extremely little oversight. According to the Human Rights Watch, some of his laws and decisions have resulted in the death or jailing of over 20 million people, including the wrongful execution of a teenager. If superheroes are not held accountable for the damage they cause, they too will make wrongful decisions and kill the innocent. Multiple studies from the PBS and the National Institute of Health back up this point. Now to my second point. When people can act without consequences, many will choose to abuse this power. The Cognitive Neuroscience Society conducted an experiment in which participants could receive a moderate sum of money in exchange for delivering a very painful shock to another person. Shockingly, 96% of people chose money, knowingly causing harm. Imagine if that was a substantial amount offered. This illustrates a disturbing truth. People often prioritise personal gain over ethical responsibility. If superheroes existed who could act without any consequences, based on statistics, it is likely that they would act in their own self-interest when the reward is quite big. This is the case for the superhero Jean Grey, the proverbial good girl, destined to lead the X-Men, but she succumbed to the total lure of power and went on a killing spree. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, superheroes should undeniably not be above the law. They should face clear consequences. Clara and I have both presented strong reasons and why accountability is vital for superheroes. As Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you.
I now call upon the second negative speaker, Amalika Hassan.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that superheroes should be held accountable for the damage they cause. We believe this statement is false. The second affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that superheroes are the same as service workers, like police officers. This is wrong because superheroes are individuals with extraordinary powers. They do not have government salaries and support like support services. She also said that unchecked powers are dangerous. Most superheroes are kept in check by their morals or separate accountability systems, such as their fellow heroes in case of Avengers. The very definition of superheroes is someone who uses their powers for good. If they are misusing their powers, they cannot be classified as a hero anymore. Our first speakers already stated that superheroes have honorable intentions. I'm going to discuss 3 points. My first point is that superheroes operate within extreme conditions outside the law. From battles against high-powered machinery to vengeful villains, immortal beings, and sometimes gods themselves. It is impossible to measure superheroes by ordinary standards when they are anything but ordinary. Can you imagine Thor, god of the thunder, standing trial for accidentally smashing a few windows or fighting out a magical suit of armor? This scenario is both silly and unfair, as our legal systems are not equitably equipped to handle such extreme cases. Furthermore, the damage would have been multiplied if Thor had not intervened. This leads me to my second point. In most cases, the damage is caused by the villains. Superheroes only act when there is a threat. Blaming them for the damage is like blaming a doctor for leaving a scar after a life-saving surgery. Due to the high media interest, most superheroes become quite famous in their communities. According to the National Literacy Trust, over 60% of young children look up to the superheroes as their role models. Watching a hero being punished for a crime they did not commit would cause public outrage and a loss of faith in the justice system. People would have begun to question whether saving a life is the right thing to do. Instead of heroes, we should hold villains accountable and force them to pay for their crimes. This will serve as a fitting consequence for their actions and possibly deter other troublemakers. My third point is that superheroes are not public servants. Unlike police officers, soldiers, and other employees who serve our community, they are not paid to do so. Therefore, they are technically considered civilians. You cannot hold civilians the same standards as trained professionals, regardless of their gifts. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, superheroes face immense pressure against formidable opponents, who are often the cause of the destruction. Therefore, they should not be held accountable. Thank you.
I now call upon the third affirmative speaker, Anna Malik.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that superheroes should be held accountable for the damage they cause. We, the affirmative team, believe the statement is undeniably true. The second speaker from the negative team has tried telling you that superheroes are trying their best, so they should not be blamed. This is wrong, because good intentions do not cancel out careless actions. If a superhero throws a bus at a villain without checking whether civilians are inside, that is negligence. According to Millard Business School, negligence means failing to take proper care even if you did not mean harm. This shows that meaning well is not enough. Heroes must be careful for the power they have, or else they should face consequences like anyone else. The first speaker from the negative team has tried to tell you that superheroes save lives, so they should be forgiven if they cause damage. This is incorrect because saving lives doesn't excuse breaking laws. Police and firefighters save lives too, but they can still face consequences if they are reckless. Legal experts and law in the multiverse explain that negligence laws apply to anyone, no matter how important they are. This means that superheroes, just like ordinary people, must be accountable when their actions hurt others. The second speaker from the negative team has tried to tell you that rules will slow down heroes when lives are at stake. This is false, because unrestricted power can spiral into lawlessness. Stories like The Boys and Watchmen show heroes going rogue when there's no accountability, which leads to chaos instead of protection. As Boing Boing points out, even insurance lawyers reviewing superhero battles agree, without regulation, the destruction is absurdly costly and unsustainable. Clear rules help heroes act faster in emergencies by giving them a public trust and safe framework to operate in.
Our first speaker spoke to you about how when superheroes are not held accountable, conflicts escalate rapidly. She also spoke to you about how superheroes don't take accountability, threaten the foundation of a lawful and fair society. Our second speaker spoke to you about how unregulated power and obligation leads to corruption. He also spoke to you about how when people act without consequences, many people will abuse this power. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, my team members and I have voiced out extremely well and thought out debates to prove to you all that superheroes should 100% be held accountable for the damage they cause, no matter what. Thank you.
I now call upon the third negative speaker, Isaiah Gilles.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that superheroes should be held accountable for the damage they cause. We, the negative team, believe that this statement is undeniably false. The third speaker from the affirmative team has tried to tell you that good intentions don't erase real-world consequences. Good intentions don't erase consequences, but it's important to consider the hero's efforts and intentions when assessing their accountability, as our first speaker stated. Also, she said that superheroes may throw a bus onto supervillains to stop them. Well, this is because they are doing this and creating damage for a greater cause. The goal of superheroes is to help innocents and save the city, and even the world. If we distract them from this goal, the world or the city or even innocents can be in grave trouble. We shouldn't distract them from their goal. The second speaker from the affirmative team has tried to tell you that superheroes are likely to act in their own self-interest for money. This is wrong because superheroes usually are unpaid and they save people for morals and respect, not usually for money. Like we mentioned, the definition for superheroes does not include abuse of power or for money. If they do this, they are not classified as a superhero anymore, and they now fall into the classification of a supervillain. He also said that accountability encourages responsibility and learning. This is wrong because heroes already bear the burden of their roles. Are their sacrifices and moral obligations to save as many lives as possible not a great enough show of responsibility? Do they really need to clean up for us to believe they are responsible? The first speaker from the affirmative team has tried to tell you that saving lives doesn't excuse destruction. Destruction can be excused at times, depending on the circumstances. For example, in 2022, News.com.au reported that a tradesman from Queensland saved an overheated toddler from an SUV by smashing the windshield with a hammer. This is one of the many true stories proving that destruction is a byproduct of the dire situation. Like all things in life, we need to weigh the pros and cons of both sides. Which is more valuable, keeping the environment intact or saving a life? Definitely the latter. Our first speaker has already explained that intent is important and should be recognized, as superheroes risk everything to help others. She also said that legal accountability can hinder or halt action, potentially leaving civilians, cities, or even the world in grave trouble. Our second speaker told you that superheroes operate in extreme situations at a great risk and should not be relegated to cleaning up messes. She also said there is no legal framework for the actions of superheroes. Furthermore, most damage stems from the villain. Punishing villainous behavior could serve as a more effective solution as well as a deterrent for future criminals. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we, the negative team, are adamant that superheroes should not be held accountable for the damage they cause. The Incredibles, a film released in 2004, perfectly depicts this topic. In the film, superheroes are banned from using their powers due to costly lawsuits and public backlash. At the end of the film, the public who pushed for the ban in the first place decided to wholly embrace the super saviors. And why wouldn't they? Thank you.